I would like to start by a little poll here. Can we do a hands up on everyone that sometime or any time have experienced migraine in life? Oh, all right. We are apparently overrepresented a little bit here. I'm going to talk about migraine and only about migraine this time. We were, I think, if I am not mistaken, over 25% in here that have experienced migraine in life. And that is quite a lot. The normal figure is a little less that we will see soon here. But what is migraine? And first of all, it is what we are running this company for, basically, nowadays. This is the UK English health systems explanation. It's quite dry about it. But it's an ugly disease. It really decapacitates you. You will be bedridden for a day or two. You are not capable of working. You're sensitive to light and strong sounds. And it takes a while before you bounce back from it. What they say is roughly 1 in every 5 women, 20%, has this condition, and 1 in every 15 men. So what we say in Sweden is it's usually an average of 13% have migraine as a condition or a disease diagnosis. Anyone can get migraine or can have migraine. There are no specific known reasons to be a migraineur. Quite beautiful name for an ugly disease. But it's also important to differentiate with, I think most of us in here have had episodic migraines or have episodic migraines. We have it once in a while. We've had it maybe, like in my case, 6-7 times in my life. When the kids were small and life was miserable. But then you also have the really difficult part, and that is called chronic migraine. Chronic migraine is defined as having 15 days of headache per month, whereof 8 days with migraine episodes. Just taste that for a while. If you never had a migraine and you just can, it's like the worst kind of hangover you can imagine, or being hit over the head, crashing with a bike or something like that. You have to go to rest. You have to have your window blind shut. It has to be quiet. That's the only way you can deal with it. And you also probably would consume quite a bit of painkillers during that period, just to take the pain down. Just imagine you had 8 of those per month. And I met people that are up in the 20 days per month with this. I don't know how they live with themselves, actually, but they do. So what we are focused on, and what I will continue to talk about mostly here, is the latter part here, the more severe condition, the chronic migraine. So how usual is this then? Depending on what studies you're reading, and there are tons of them, it seems like it is between 1.8 and 2.2% of world population, regardless of country or wherever you are in the world. That computes to around 150 million people in the world. In Sweden alone, we have 180 to 220,000 chronic migraineurs. It's a huge disease. And if you then look at the total migraine, which was approximately 13% in Sweden, it's a big number, you know? And if people are not able to be fully functional at work or in school, you can also realize that this is detrimental to economy. The health economy effect of this particular disease is substantial. If we look at the chronic migraine in Sweden, where we have good data, as usual, an average chronic migraine patient costs about 120,000 crowns per year. 20% of that is care cost and 80% is loss of productivity. So it's actually a tax issue, really. It's large, this one. And that's the average. The peaks here are much worse. So what do we do? What do we do about it? What does the healthcare do about it? Well, there are various sorts of therapies. 95% of them are drugs of various kinds. Do they work? I can point to this survey that was done by a patient union in the US. They say that only 40% are satisfied with the treatment regime. This is also seconded by doctors or neurologists that we talk to. They say that from time to time with all of my patients, I have no idea what to do. We have to go to the next thing. We have to change drug. We have to maybe prescribe a stronger drug or try something else and see if it works. But, they say, 20–30% of them, I have no idea what to do next. This is a massive industry. I avoided any figures and numbers in this presentation, but I can just mention that the drug segment for migraine is worth about $9 billion per year, growing by over 10% per year. So it's a huge chunk of the pharmaceutical industry as such. And still, it has a very, very low response rate. So they are really together, the patient and the healthcare provider, they're trying their best, hand in hand, and try to get somewhere where it's better. Okay? So there is a constant search for something else, something better. So, and you can guess it already, of course, are there any alternatives to drugs? Yes, there are. Okay, and that's what we are about. Our focus with our technology is to offer an alternative to drugs. This is a medtech product. It has nothing to do with hormones or funny molecules. And we also know that a lot of these patients have sort of gone the length to the end of the road and there are no more drugs to try. So what to do then? It's quite common that the drug works well in the beginning and continue to increase in effect, and then it plateaus and then it starts to go down. This is when they get into issues, right? And the anxiety starts to show up. So what should I do next? So you talk to your doctor and, yeah, I have another drug, and we try that one. Okay, and it's like the old Scandia Uniclink commercials from the 80s or 90s. But there is an end to that. There are no more drugs when you have tried everything. This is a gap we want to fill, and this is something we would like to offer. We're focused on finding ways for the body to heal itself or help itself at least. What this is the fancy name is a mechanical intranasal neurostimulation. It's a treatment that's done through the nostrils in the nose with a mechanical vibration of a balloon with a certain frequency and pressure. And this is very, very close to the neurocenter called the Sphalatinion, sorry, I can't pronounce it, SPG anyway, which is a bunch of nerves in the nose that are very closely associated with the very superficial and important neurosystem here in the anatomic system of anatomic neurosystem. So we are right in the correct spot. We're also very close to the brain because the brain is right behind the nose. So deploying a slight vibration there, a mechanical stimulation, actually changes the behavior of the neurosystem after the treatment for a long period of time. So our treatment is what's called preventive or prophylactic. It actually prevents further or lower further increase of your headaches over a quite long time, actually. What we're doing right now is that we're busy with finalizing, wrapping up the work here in proving that in a major pivotal clinical study. It will see the last patient leave this summer from that study. And the result of that is going to be extremely important for this company. We're probably capable of, at the earliest, be public with these results somewhere during the winter, the coming winter. So what we are about, Chordate as such exists to help more migraine patients. We have developed and we will prove a valid alternative to drugs. It could also be a combination that you combined, that's done already, so that's nothing new. And we believe, it's not tested fully yet, but we believe that there might be some drug therapies for some patients that can benefit from a combination with our technology. It's also known, because we have published that very early, we said that we are going to generate an exit for our owners. It is a pronounced part of our strategy. So we're building this in order for some of the larger global medtech companies to pick up. And that changes a little bit how we do things. But these words here basically describe our strategy. We can also look at it from a different point of view. We have the whole house built on 3 pillars. The most important one is scientific evidence. This is absolutely necessary. When you look at M&A activities in the medtech space, this is one of the most important things. Can you prove that it does work? So that's what we're doing. The middle one is, of course, IPR. You got to have patents to protect, otherwise no one will buy it. And finally, as it is medtech, you have to also show that you have been able to sell it somehow, somewhere. Even we are a very small organization, we have a very small muscle. But we believe that we need to be able to show a proof of concept in market, in actual sales, so that there is something to compute an upscaling in a larger organization based upon some results that we can deliver. So this is basically our strategy. Okay? It's a fantastic innovation, a beautiful R&D, and then we have these pillars that we are now developing that would lead to the top. That's the idea. So let's look at this a little bit in detail. This is our pipeline for studies. The most important one I talked about was the 007 on the top there. That study delivered a so-called interim analysis at the peak of 2019. Interim analysis is where you take out the first number of patients to a certain level and you study that and you actually pre-calculate the result. You do this as a validity test of checking that the study is on the right track, that you have started the study with the right assumptions. Otherwise, you will spend your money in vain. That study, the interim analysis, was used as input to our CE marking process. CE marking is the regulatory approval in the medtech world. We didn't see the data because we're the sponsor of this study, so we couldn't see the data. We're blinded to it. That's the way they want it in the scientific world. But the notified body or the authority that tested our CE marking application, they saw the data and they gave us the CE mark. So we don't know the data, but we can only conclude that that result from the interim analysis must have been relatively good. Otherwise, they would not have given us the market access approval for Europe. So this one runs in Germany, 132 patients, 9 clinics. The last patient will be leaving the study at the end of July. And then it will take some time to prepare this. The aim is to send in a good scientific article in a prominent publication. And hopefully that could be done and cleared for publication somewhere at the end of this year, at the earliest, I must say though. Okay, so that was the one. We are not going to talk so much about this. This is an older study that is concluding its data file here. And I move on to this, which is a new thing we haven't talked about before. We'll do a supportive, small, quick pilot study on chronic migraine, but that is for those that have failed with everything, and certainly failed with the so-called CGRP therapy, CGRP antagonist therapy, which is the golden standard of migraine medicine today. This is the latest and the best. It's a fantastic drug, no doubt, but it's also extremely expensive. One annual treatment in Sweden is about 60,000 crowns per year and patient for this. So the prescription rules for even being allowed to receive this treatment are extremely strict. And if you don't succeed as a patient within 3 months after that you started, they'll take it off from you. And then you're left alone, right? Then you failed. So we aim to study a few subjects here of those poor CGRP failure patients and see if we can have some sort of effect. If we do, it is going to be fantastic. If we don't, it doesn't matter so much because that means we're as good as the CGRP alternative, right? So this is only playing in the positive quadrant of all aspects here. But we needed to do this because this is such a brilliant idea. It might actually, and there are indications that we have reason to believe that it might actually have a chance to work. And if it does, it's going to be fantastic. This is done with the prestigious King's College in London and one of the greater sites in the world for migraine research. We also have this, a larger study, 200 patients. This is something that we basically have promised in the CE marking process, so we are obliged to do it. It's also open, and it's a study of what happens when you actually are in the market. Okay, a little bit closer look on the Finnish-German study here, the 007. Again, the interim analysis results must have been rather good. And this scientific article here is extremely important for us. That's going to be, if it is what we dream of, it's going to be a fantastic splash in the market. IPR, very simple. We got 70 patents in 24 countries, and we have 3 pending applications. Proof of concept is something we build the somewhat traditional way, at least in these areas, where we use distributors and other type of partners and sell directly to clinics. We have a new concept that we launched this spring, where we have directly engaged and also employed market access managers, where we work much deeper in the market, certainly in the English market or British market. We might go that way a little further because it's quite a task to do what we want when you're a distributor. it puts a quite high demand on the distributor. So that's maybe a more honed and sharpened way for us to do this. And we also have a joint venture partnership with a company in Shanghai that's working on the Chinese market, but that's something we are rather disconnected from because we have nothing to contribute there. Okay, business model quite simple. If you pack this machine for a full shift, you can do 2,000 procedures per year, pretty much. So that's the maximum. We have a built-in protection for the business because you need to buy an electronic code in order to make this thing work. So if you don't have that code, it won't work for you. That means that our disposable or the stuff that you can hold in your hands is not that important. It is actually it doesn't matter if you copy it. There's no low-cost alternative because we block the machine from actually doing a routine. You can also note that a rhinitis patient, which is our first indication, might need 1 to 2 treatments per year maximum, but my typical medium migraine patient might need 4 to 6 treatments per year. So you also already there see the difference in these two indications. And it also indicates that this is definitely repeat order business at the end when this is grown up and fully developed. This is going to be a volume business. It's nothing else. Okay, we got 3 things to focus on going forward here. We have to continue to build a proof of concept in market. That's tough. It's hard work. That's something we do a lot. We do have to finalize the provision of this scientific evidence that we work on the migraine study first and foremost, and then of course we'll continue to push the processes for market approval in both China and US, which is another thing that we can talk about another day. That would actually conclude this little presentation, and we'll see what Alf has to say about it.
Thank you very much, Anders. Fascinating. I thought I'd start right away by addressing one thing that you left out in your presentation. You didn't talk about side effects of the different treatments. So, with that as a little hint, maybe you could put together for us a short list of the USP of your Chordate's KOS treatment versus every other treatment.
Yeah, well, I guess it's built into the no drug label, right? So as soon as you end up taking drugs, there are almost always effects that are not wanted in there. And the tougher the drugs are or stronger they are, usually the more side effects you have. And they actually also accelerate over time for some of these drugs. It should be added, though, that this CGRP inhibitor, antibody inhibitors that I talked about, they seem to have sort of a lower side effect profile, which is one of their advantages. If you back a few steps to the more stronger, more dedicated drugs here, they are, by the way, not designed for migraine in the beginning. They are relabeled for use with migraine from completely different areas. And some of them have really nasty side effects, actually. So I don't want to scare anyone, but it is something you basically are asked to accept because it will also take down your pain for a period. But when you do this sort of a mechanical vibration of the mucosa in the nose, you basically don't have any side effects except for falling asleep because it's sometimes quite nice. So that could be it. Yeah.
That takes away my second question. Well, that was going to be, does it hurt to get the treatment when you have something vibrating in your nose?
Yeah, we like to be honest. It's strange the first 2 minutes. There are patients that think there is a pain also. They appreciate there is a pain, but 99% of them get over it. You can learn very, very quickly to accept this. And the second time you come around and take your second treatment, then it's people doze off and they actually fall asleep. It's kind of a brain stimulation in a way, right? That's quite nice.
But getting back to CGRP drugs, you read sometimes that this is the silver bullet for migraine, and some of these products are very new. Some have not even hit the market yet. So could it be that so far we have seen the easy fixes in the CGRP space, and we're going to get better drugs, and this is going to be more of an obstacle or more of a competition for you than it is now?
We don't like to see it as competition. We like to see it as something possible to combine with, because none of these drugs, and this is from the literature, none of them reaches response rates over 40-45%. For a drug, that's really low, right? But in this space, they have accepted that low response rate. You are used to much higher response rates from any other category of drugs. You're always used to that there is not total response. Everybody knows that. But alcohol, I think, have 100% response rate to people. But below that, there is a scale, right? But it seems like these headache drugs, they have an acceptance level of response that's surprisingly low. Also, CGRP treatments are down there in the 40s, low 40s. There might be improvements of this and so forth, but the whole idea of the CGRP inhibitor is actually about blocking a certain receptor in the neurosystem that is otherwise accepting a CGRP molecule. And that is just plugged. So the whole idea is built on one idea, on one mechanism. So I don't think there is any much more to get in that space. There might come other ways of blocking pain that we haven't heard about yet. And then we should know that CGRP is something people have heard about for the last 20 years. That's how long time it takes to develop these drugs. And it was presented as the silver bullet, or the return of Christ. It was a big thing when this happened a couple of years ago in this domain. Now we see a more sober reaction from real life neurologists. It's good, it works for many of my patients, but it doesn't work for all. So we're back to the same situation, even though it's a nicer drug than some of these other more aggressive ones.
You stick out from many companies in that you have a very clear goal of exit on the horizon, and so it's tempting to ask you: are you already starting to sort of socialize with potential buyers and trying to circle who you want to sell to?
Well, what we do is that we are, since after this ugly little virus, we're now starting to get active in exposure. We are getting ourselves exposed and visible. That wasn't done before. Then came the pandemic. It's impossible, but now it is possible. So a few weeks ago, we were, for the first time then, exposing ourselves in a little exhibition at the neurology meeting in Barcelona, which was an international meeting for neuromodulation for headache, or for pain, not headache only, but pain. And on that floor, you will meet all these big global portal names. So yeah, and the intention from our point there was to show ourselves. So this is what we will continue to do. So in a sense, yes, we have begun.
Thank you.